All right. I think we are live. One second, guys. I never believe my Zoom screen here when we're getting set up, but I think we should be good. Let me pull up here. I'm excited about tonight, guys. Yeah, we are live. We are live. Bob, one second here, then we'll get everyone introduced. We usually wait a minute for people to jump on. We're going to send the bot blast out. Looks like we got some people on. Guys, when you jump on, say what's up. This is going to be a fun one tonight. I'm super excited here. It's a great honor to have Bob on. All right, there's some people jumping on. There we go. Say what's up. Drop the like button, guys. Yeah, I'm super excited, guys. You guys saw, what I wrote here. I mean, 2 Comma Club Award, multi-million-dollar agency, best-selling author, Forbes Featured. I mean, I could just go on and on. Look, you just got to look behind you. You got multiple 2 Comma Clubs. I've known Bob. We've been talking for most of this year now, actually, and he's an absolute stud, beast in the agency game, gets extremely high management fees, long-term retention. Bob, man, I've got to introduce you, but tell us a little about yourself, man. Introduce yourself.
Cool, man. Super stoked to be on this call today. Yeah. I mean, I started, just kind of get into it. I started, I was doing funnels about 20 years ago, man. I'm 41 right now. So I was doing, Russell talks about, doing funnels with coders and designers and then HTML and front page and all this stuff. Like that was me. I built my real estate business off of that. Initially what had happened is that when I got, out of school, I did 1 year of school and I got into the real estate game, and I built one of the largest real estate companies in Canada here. I trained and coached over 1,500 members and, packed basically stadiums just outside my city, 200, 300 people at a time, every 2 weeks. And one of the big things that we were doing funnels from newspapers with an advertorial to a 1-800 phone number where they would request a free report and we would ship out a free report to them. And they would call in our 1-800 number and they would leave their information to apply. Right? Dude,
that shit actually works. Like I've read the old Dan Kennedy books where he talks about that. He's like, give away a free report, a tiny free ad in the newspaper. Like, yeah. Man, so people would see the ad, oh man, keep going. That's crazy. Like,
yeah. So they'd see the ad, they'd call up, and I remember this. It was my first seminar that I did. I had 4 people there, and I literally, I'm a sales guy, right? Like, I mean, I think all of us are at some point here. We're all sales guys. We know that we can sell. And that's really, there's certain little tools and tricks and tips that we can use in our business to get more people to bite on our offers and that kind of thing. But I think, really what we want to talk a lot about today is about the systems and the processes that we build to keep them and retain them and to get them to trust you, know you, and like you, even when you're not getting results, right? And that's the big thing. And so, so when I was doing that stuff, it was crazy because like these people would bite on this stuff and we'd get them in and I'd have these little applications all filled out and people, it was like, what we do is exactly the same process online. Like, I don't know if you're going to qualify. I don't know if this is going to be right for you and all those kinds of things. And we really did the applications the way that they were supposed to be doing. And so we just built our business up that way. And I remember going in and consulting for companies like Remax Prudential and Coldwell Banker and all these guys. And they're like, Bob, how did you build your business? And I showed them, I said, you guys told me to door knock and throw flyers. I said, no way, I'm not going to do that. This is the way I'm going to do it.
Wow. So you've been in funnels for a long time, man. That's crazy. So how'd you transition then from, real estate, building a big empire, doing sales training, to agency, and it's specifically agency, and we work in a very similar niche here with those types of guys.
Yeah. So when I long story short, I was killing myself 80 hours a week. I mean, I had 40 employees, 10,000 square foot, office, my dream office, so to speak. But I got married, I had a kid, and I literally didn't see my son for the first 2 years of his life, right? And growing up, I had nothing really. I mean, when we were growing up, my parents worked 3 jobs, immigrant parents, all that kind of stuff, first generation.
Wow.
And when you get a taste of money, you don't want to lose that, right? And you feel like you're doing everything for the people around you, but it's really out of fear that you don't want to lose that stuff. And you compensate and you keep working, you work and work and work yourself to the ground where when I asked my wife, when at that time, it was like, man, I'm doing everything for you. And they're like, yeah, but you're really not. And, we kind of had some issues and we split apart. And, I walked in one day after that, I got that light bulb in my head and I said, I can't do this because I grew this business for freedom, for stress-free freedom and financial freedom. And really, I wasn't stress-free, And so I walked in and I said, listen, I'm going to sell it. I had a buyer for it. And, the rest is history. I took a year off. Me and my wife were split apart and I took a year off, started to work on myself, do some Tony Robbins stuff, like all that, the motive, the mental aspect of the game. And really started to work on my relationships and my family and all that kind of stuff. And as I was doing that, a buddy of mine, he was just starting real estate. He's like, hey man, I know that you used to do this. Do you mind teaching me how you did it? And I said, yeah, no problem. And so I started to do that. And I started to build out the systems for them. And I started, like I said, I started working with, some of the bigger companies out there, but I've worked with Kia Motors. I've worked with, Remax, Prudential, like I said, I worked with a bunch of these guys, but really it was when I started to invest in medical villages. And medical villages are those, I don't know if you guys know if you're in the medical space, but it's basically a commercial building with a bunch of different tenants in them that all have some sort of medical, technique. There might be an acupuncture, there might be a chiropractor, there might be a physical therapist, all under one roof. And so I started to invest in these. And one of the big things that people used to ask me is like, hey, Bob, how do you market? How do you get people in? And it was almost around the time when there was a bit of a downturn in the economy and the real estate prices were going down. So I was like, man, I got to get these guys to, I got to get them to sell some more stuff, because if they don't sell some more stuff, they're going to leave and my property value is going to go down. And so, to this day, I still invest in quite a bit of real estate. But, when I go into those, when I went into that, so I started to help them. And, I had my aunt that went through cancer who was working, with stem cell therapy. It didn't save her, prolonged her life a bit. And so I just kind of got into this mold of this medical space, and I really love it. I had a buddy of mine that owns a chiropractic office, and he did a lot of integrative stuff. And he was out in Dallas, and he says, hey, you want to come down here and take a look at what we're doing? And so I went down there. I learned everything. I stayed there for like 5 days, inside and out, learned about all the decompression tables, the physical therapy equipment, learned what their staff was doing on the front. And, I think a lot of people, I tell my students that I say, you have to be vested in the success of your client, not vested in the success of your bank book.
Yep.
You're invested in the success of their bottom line, then, it'll automatically come to you. So, man, I just grinded it out. I learned all the stuff about it and then started to build it from there.
And blew it up. Yeah. I love that you mentioned about being invested in their success, because that's really all that matters at the end of the day, right? If they get enough results, like you can put lipstick on a pig, but if your shit still sucks, it sucks, right? Like you have to be able to get results for your clients, and you have to like them. Right now, there's a lot of people. Give me a one down in the comment section if you guys have had any problems with retention, because that's really what we want to dig into here tonight, with retention, staying involved. And a lot of that comes from not understanding the client, not understanding what they need, not understanding how to market for them specifically, and then not listening to them, right? It's very easy, and I've been very much to blame for this, and I definitely can get frustrated with clients who don't know how to close, don't know how to follow up, all those things. But at the end of the day, what good is it going to do if we just yell about them all the time? We need to do more in order to help them follow up, more in order to get them to track their things, which we're going to talk about a little bit later too as well. So with that, Bob, I want to get started. We got a lot of people who are newer on here in this group, things like that. So let's talk about, getting started and speaking about niches. This is something that I talk about all the time, and I've been thinking about a lot. There's a lot of people who overthink niches. Now, what are your thoughts on choosing a niche, getting started, going into it?
Yeah, I mean, the money's got to be there. If you want to justify a $5,000 or $10,000, account per month, then, the way I look at it is the rule of one, right? Like, if you can satisfy that person with one sale and justify that income, then you're good. So if it's a $10,000 sale, then you just got to get one, right? And part of my pitch is like, hey man, if I can't get you one person that walks in your door and buys from you, and you're going to break even, and I'm still going to build all the stuff for your, in your infrastructure stuff, like I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And too many people try to, maybe go after small ticket items, and they're trying to charge too much. And that's just, that's just a recipe for disaster right there.
I agree, man. I talk about that all the time. And it's nothing against, I know people who crush it in the gym industry, yoga, things like that. But I'm a big fan of going after big ticket stuff, right? Because like you said, I like the rule of one, but one person pays for it all. So, I mean, that's a great start. And there's so many different ways to do this, guys. It doesn't have to only be, one specific industry in medical, just because me and Bob might be talking about it. We randomly are in similar industries, right? There's so many big things that you can do out there. So with that, when you're getting started, I know that, speaking with Alex Rodriguez, who came on last week, I know he works with you as well, speaks super highly of you. One of the things that he mentioned that he learned a ton from you about and he loves, and I'd love for you to talk with people, is you helped him set up his positioning so that he could charge more. Let's talk about that, because I think positioning is really, really important for multiple reasons. But let's talk about what you would, talk with. And you also, just so everyone knows, Bob has his own, group. He teaches some people. He trains agency owners, does some of the stuff as well. So what would you do with someone who's coming in, who's fresher, who's newer, and tell them about the positioning aspect?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I was just talking to a guy this morning, and he asked me what I would do. And I said, if I was to start my agency all over again, I'd go to trade shows. I think a lot of the times we learn about technology, and sometimes our market, depending on where you're going, is not always there. And I built my agency through mostly the trade show industry, getting up, stage speaking, going, shaking hands, and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think, if we're face to face, we're really good at that. And sometimes we don't realize, like our doctors, or, these guys that are making millions of dollars a year, they're not sitting there on Facebook. They have to go to these conferences. And so one of the best ways to go there is to go and show face and talk to people. And, that's where they do business. That's where they buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of pieces of equipment all the time.
Yeah, I love that. We actually did a booth, and we got a booth for cheap. We got our setup for like $2,000, but it was beautiful. I can send pictures of it to you guys. Let me know in the comments, tag me, and I'll send you some pictures, because we made over $100,000 when I spoke on stage in front of like 50 docs. It was crazy, because especially when you get to speak, right? Because then you build instant authority. They're already trusting you. Now, because I really like to get specific and tactical here when we're on these, like if somebody wanted to go to a trade show and they have no idea about it, how would you suggest they go about finding the right ones, going to them, approaching them, that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you got to know your niche, first. But the first thing that we did was look in your local area, right? Look at some of the chiropractic associations or medical associations or automobile associations, whatever it is.
Or home builders associations. There's a lot of associations, guys. Just to
They all have these little groups, right? And they're all looking for this information. So you go there and you hit up the guys and you talk to them, because they need money too, right? They need money to keep these associations going. They're nonprofit, a lot of them. And so if you just say, hey, listen, I'll give you $1,000 for your booth, for a booth, that's perfect. But what I used to do is initially what I did, I made the mistake of just going there and putting up a booth, but then I became like everybody else. So I started to work on my branding and my positioning side of things. And what I mean by that is I started to create ebooks, but printed ebooks, right? And I would mail them out. I would ship them out. I still to this day have big boxes of stuff like this that I ship out and FedEx to people. I make sure that I get signatures of them, and then our staff can follow up when they get the actual tracking numbers, right?
I still have some stuff from you, man. You sent me some stuff.
We know when our doctors get that stuff, so instantly we can pick up the phone and call them. And so you have to start to create your personal brand. People buy people, they don't buy the technology that you're selling. Initially, they're going to look at you, they're going to judge you, they're going to want to buy you. And if you can create a good presence and a good brand about yourself, go out there and get some proper pictures done, right? Don't just take it with your iPhone. Get a camera guy, get a videographer, do some videos, create some of that stuff, and start to put it in a package like a personal brand website. You can build your company website, but also build your personal brand website. For me, I've got bobmangat.com. I built all of my stuff on that because I know people buy people. They're going to buy me. They're going to buy the things.
So I got to jump in here. So I've been in this space for a couple of years now, right? And last year we really started getting, bigger. I started meeting a lot of the people and, knowing stuff. I'll never forget January 1st of this year. I was scrolling through my phone on Facebook, you know, I was a little hungover, I think, or something. And I saw your picture on stage for the first time, and I'm like, I've never seen this ad. Who the hell? I don't know why, but for whatever reason, starting January 1st this year, I don't know whether you just went ham at the market or what. I started seeing you everywhere. I started seeing you speaking on the stages. I saw you started seeing the books, and your positioning was huge. That's why I ended up reaching out. And we'll talk about, well, I'll tell everyone why I reached out in a little bit to connect here and collaborate. But like, it was amazingly well done, guys. If you want to go check it out, his website, bobmangat.com, is fantastic. And it literally got me to reach out, and I could technically be looked at as, you know, a competitor, right? So it's awesome. So one thing I would ask is, do you have ways of doing this on a budget, or do you say, hey, you know what, we just got to have $5 grand. If you want to start this thing, you want to do it right, we need to have a budget. What do you typically say on that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to know what you're capable of doing and spending on certain things, and you got to spend right initially, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're going to spend on brand and you don't have any clients, then go out there and get some. Walk down the street, go to your chiropractor, walk in and just say, hey man, can I do some lead generation for you? And if I do it, you want to pay me X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like, sometimes we sit back and we don't take action. And that's the problem. You know, it's, you got all the tools and all the trainings and everything. It's just, you got to stand up and deliver now. And sometimes that means getting out of your seat from your office and walking down the street or driving down the street and going to your chiropractor or your, you know, medical doctor or your automobile company. And guaranteed, man, like, if somebody were to walk into my office, I would respect that guy and I'd give him a chance.
Yeah. And especially if you say, look, man, I want to run for you for free, or paid trial, or whatever it might be. Like, it really is about taking action, right? Like, there's so many tools and strategies out there. I talk with this about the people inside the Crusader Nation. And then when they start going, then they start building momentum, and then momentum builds on. But so often we just freeze and we overthink things, right? Like, it is scary. You're supposed to be scared, guys. Guess what? When you do something new, you're supposed to be fucking scared, right? Like, and I love, and I just have to bring this up. Bob brought up Tony Robbins mindset work. I talk about this all the time on here, Bob. I'm a huge Tony Robbins guy and a huge mindset guy in general. In fact, we've got trainings on that inside the Crusader program, like in-depth hour-long stuff, how to view life, paradigms, that type of stuff, because your mindset does matter. So read personal development books. So with that, now what I want to get into is, you know, I really want to talk about the retention angle, because you got some really cool stuff I'd like to maybe even show off tonight. I don't know if we're ready, but we get somebody and we've got the sale, right? Now, what is your strategy for, you know, long-term retention? Do you put them in contracts? Do you onboard them differently? I mean, let's talk a little about some of the expectations you set, maybe on the front end of the sales process all the way through, to get these long retainers.
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, it starts in your pitch and in your presentation.
Yeah.
And so understanding that, so part of my presentation is, I basically say, listen, I'm not just a Facebook ad agency. I'm not a funnel guy. You know, if you want that, there's hundreds of them out there. So initially, I'm already positioning myself completely different than 95% of the people that are out there, yeah. Right? I say, if you want that and you want opportunities or leads, then go find it from somebody else, because I ain't going to do that for you. And 9 times out of 10, they've already done it. Yeah. And you see, a lot of the times is when I look at it, I already know that too, right? Because let me step back for a second. You know, last year I flew 150,000 miles, flying inside of clinics. And I talk about mastery a lot. Like, I want to master this shit, and I don't want anybody else to master it more than I know my craft. And I've done that, you know, in every sort of industry that I've been in. And the reason why I do that, because I want to sit beside receptionists. I want to sit beside doctors. I want to know their cost of their equipment. I want to know what their average lifetime value is, what health record software they're using. I want to know every freaking problem that they're having inside their business. And I want to know every one of my clients. And I want to understand it. When I understand it, I can build better programs and systems, because I'm not just going to sell them a Facebook ad in a funnel, right?
Yeah.
So look at it this way. When things get tough or things get rough in a business, they're going to look at their balance sheet or their statements, and they're going to look at their, you know, credit card statements. They're going to look at, oh, I got this website guy, I've got this guy, and then I got this funnel thing that's happening, right? And if it's not generating consistent amount of revenue, they're easily going to knock you off that.
Yep.
Okay. But what I do is I handle all the communications of all of my clients. So I handle their websites, I handle their hosting, I handle their emails, I handle everything. Now, some of you guys might be on here like, I don't want to do that. right? I didn't want to do that either until I started seeing checks in my accounts constantly, right?
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things that you have to understand is like, if you're in this agency game, then be an agency, right? And then, and be an agency that is going to provide a all-in-one solution. In my opinion, I think that that's the best way to do things. But that's just me. If it's not, you know, if it's working for you, the way that you're doing it, don't change it.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. And that's how I've built it. So basically going forward is I tell them straight up, like, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to pull miracles in 90 days. I'm not going to. I don't sign any contracts. I give them a month-to-month contract, but I tell them straight up that, listen, if you're going to get me, then I ain't going to pull miracles in 90 days. It's going to take us 90 days to build infrastructure that you don't have. I got to go in and build all this stuff first. And so when I do my proposals, I do them for a year long. I don't sign them up for a year-long contract because I'll lose people there too. But I give them a path to the ultimate sort of clinic or their practice for over a year.
Yeah. I love that. And you're putting in their head that you're going to be with them for a year, and it's long-term. You know, I've been talking a lot about this recently about how we need to start selling them long-term, and we can't sell them immediate results, and we have to become branding partners and all that stuff. So that's awesome, man. I love it. I love it. So starting with the expectations of sales process. Now let's talk a little bit about how you do all that, because again, certain people who are new, how the hell do you fulfill websites, SEO, ads, funnels, all the stuff when you don't even know, you just learned what a pixel is, you know what I mean? Which, you know, obviously you takes time to learn things. You got to go out and get some clients. You can get stuff easily with Facebook ads and stuff, but how do you fulfill all that, you know, and how big's your team? Let's talk about some of that stuff too.
Yeah, I think, you know, from the fulfillment side, if you were to ask me, like, you know, maybe 6 years ago when we really started to amp up the agency, I mean, that's what I did is I learned, you know, how to run Facebook ads. I learned how to do Google ads. I learned SEO. I learned all of that stuff. And initially, you know, a lot of times when we try to get a client, we know how we can sell, but we just start to outsource. But here's my thing on outsourcing. Like, if you're outsourcing, you're not building any real equity in your business. And I'm a real estate guy. You have to build equity in your business. You got to be able to do these things, because then you can control the costs. Then you can make more profit. Then you know exactly how to systemize it and optimize it. If you don't know how to do those things, you can't, because you're just passing on a certain portion of your income. Now, look at it this way. If you've got $100,000 business per month and you're outsourcing, and your outsourcing costs are 40% of that or 60%, whatever it may be, to some other provider that they're doing all the work for you, you're not building any real value in your company. Plus, if I was to come to you and say, hey, give me 60% of your business, what would you say? Most of the guys are doing that.
Yeah. Because
they're too lazy, or they think that they don't want to know how to do that stuff. So I come into my office every single time, and we have about 12 people here. We have an office in Delray Beach, Florida as well. We're with a couple people there. And then we've got contractors all around the world that do stuff for us, a development team. But when I go back and I look at sort of my team, I can do every single position that they can do. I can do the blogging. I can do the social media marketing. I can do the content. I can run Facebook ads. I can run pixels. I can do all that stuff. I can run funnels. I can do all that. So I'm not afraid to walk in and say, you're gone. I'm not afraid to do that.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's awesome. I was actually just talking, I was at a conference, a workshop this weekend with Dennis Yu, and he was talking about this concept. He calls it the learn, do, teach. He's like, look, man, you got to learn everything before you can fucking have expect anyone else in your business to do it. You got to learn it. You got to learn it. And then you do it. And then you teach someone how to do it, right? Like, I mean, that's his big model. And then he's like, that's what you teach everyone in your organization how to do. Tell them, have them learn how to do it, and then have them teach someone else. And that's how, you know, you just project the scale and growth out. And a lot of people aren't willing to, you know, learn and do and all that. How do you feel? So one thing that I talk about is, you know, when you're getting started, right, you need to get money. Like, do you approach this? Because one thing I don't want to do is overwhelm a ton of people know who are on here. Like, I'm of the belief, and I'm curious where you are, and you can totally disagree. Is get good at one thing right now, specialize, get some money, get some income coming in, you know, because it's easy to get to 10K. I tell everyone that. It sounds crazy. I know there's people in here like, man, fuck you, it's so hard. I remember exactly where you were. I remember how hard it was. It took me forever to get my first sales. But then after that, you can really start, sharpening the rest of the tools. Like, I'm a big fan of specializing, picking one thing, because shiny object syndrome is a real problem in this industry. How would you feel about that? Like, is this something that you look at adding to the repertoire over time, or just going all in at once and just being a monster and learning everything?
Well, it just depends on how you have your system set up. But I agree with you 100%. Like, you specialize in one thing. I mean, you can go to guys like me and say, hey, listen, I'll run Facebook ads for you. And I'd be like, okay, because I don't, maybe I'll need some people that are going to fill in for us or whatever. So you can find agencies that are bigger than you and ask them for more work. And that's a good way to start. Or you can, like I said, walk into your local chiropractor and just ask him. But I agree with you. You got to do what you got to do to get the money first.
Yeah.
Like, feed yourself. You got to put money on the table, and you got to learn through, your own doing.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. Like, just focus on one thing. I always say to my guys, I say hyper focus.
I think it's so important though, like to learn the marketing game. You said something that I found that, was interesting. If you're gonna be an agency, go all in, because if you don't learn some of this stuff, if you don't learn what it is or how it is, one, like you said, you're not going to know if the person you hire is going to be any good at it. Like, that's going to be difficult. Right. And it almost seems like you're in this for the short term, not the long term. If you want to be in for the long term, you need to know all the aspects. Plus, the more you understand about different areas and the more ideas you get, and the more you can put together your workflows and your entire overall system, if you understand how the certain things work, or you can know if your processes are shitty. Because that's something that, we've had to do a lot of, because I'm not really a process guy, but I'm obsessed with it right now because I realized that they weren't that good in a lot of spots.
Yeah. My first mentor told me, I remember I was in the real estate business, and Dan Kennedy guy. And, I learned from him, and he says to me, Bob, if you want to take your business to the next level, you need to start creating some systems in your business. Yeah. And I said, and this systems concept was completely foreign to me at that point in time in my life, right? I was 25, 26 years old. And it was totally, I was like, screw that. I'm not going to do that. I got money. I'll hire somebody to do this. So what did I do? I went back and I tried to hire a CEO of my company. And that CEO of the company was responsible for creating the systems that my mentor had told me to build. And that relationship went sour very, very quickly. Like, he could not build the exact systems that I wanted to create. So I went back and went to a mastermind. The mentor asked me, he's like, hey, how's the systems come along? I said, man, I hired the CEO that you told me not to hire, and now I got to get down and do it. The day that I started to create these systems, within the 18-month period, I remember this very, very vividly, 18-month period, we went from $150,000 in sales to doing 50 million in 18 months. Because I learned, I did, and then I went the other way.
Dude, that's so crazy. Like, processes to me a year ago were like foreign concept, and that's bullshit. You can just sell your way out of every situation. Boom. Then shit broke down. We sold on too much too fast, couldn't handle it. Fulfillment was broken. We're still working on our workflows because I haven't gotten fully down and dirty into it. And so I'm really working on that as well. Getting ready, because like, we've got such a good dialed in as a lot of people. I mean, I'm a big sales guy, right? Our sales system is rock solid. We can bring people in crazy, and I can turn this in any industry. So now I'm really building infrastructure so that we can scale it out and even go into different industries if we need to, and just max this thing out, because I can bring in hundreds of inbound leads a month with our sales stuff. So guys, systems and processes matter. I know you guys have heard me talk about that.
You got a kick-ass sale. I mean, you guys are in the right group for sales. This guy knows his shit.
Yeah, man, it's been fun. We got the good sales system now, that's for sure. So next thing I want to talk about, man, let's just talk about EverGenius, man. Let's introduce that, guys. So one of the things I wanted to bring on and talk with you guys about, and this is why I'd actually initially reached out to Bob. I follow Russell Brunson. I funnel hack. So I saw this dude pop up in my newsfeed everywhere. And I'm like, this guy's actually doing it good, because most of the times I see, and I don't know if it's people in here groups, but I see everyone else's ads that are targeting chiros. I'm like, that shit's never going to work. I can just tell when ads aren't going to work. Right. Saw yours, went through your funnel. I'm like, this guy's stuff's pretty good. I liked how you had the form set up, the system. And as I was watching one of your videos, I saw this software, and this software had already been in me and my business partners had like the exact same thing. And I was like, son of a bitch, that's what we need. And I knew it was going to cost a ton. So I actually called out, and I had one of my guys call Bob's office, get in touch with him. And the software is called, EverGenius, and it is just incredible. It is doing so much cool shit, man. So let's talk about the birth of the software, a little bit about it. And then I don't know if you've got anything demo, we could do that. If not, we'll figure something out. But this shit is cool, man. So let's talk about EverGenius.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I started EverGenius out of a need, right? Like here's how it started. I hated reporting. You know, I had 3 or 4 people on reporting, and I'm a guy that I talk about. I don't know if you guys know what the profit gap is, right? A lot of people talk about it, but the profit gap is basically like, you know, agencies have a curve like this, right? Like it's going up and the revenues are right here. But what's coming right underneath is your expenses. So as you grow, your expenses are growing like this because you're adding more and more people. And I felt that in my business. It was like, you know, I was keeping less and less and less. It's not what you make, it's what you keep, right? And so ultimately, when you get to a certain point, you just want to make money. It doesn't matter. You're paying people to get people to do things. And you're like, if you break even, it's great. You're still making money. But after a while, you're like, okay, I've got some stability now, man. Like I have to start to shed some expenses. Yeah. And the goal was to take that and move that. So there's a little bit of a gap inside there that you get more money every single time you grow, the expenses go down. And so as I started to build this program, initially it was like, I have 3 people doing reporting, like stupid reports, like, you know, keyword reports and those things that kind of keep people engaged in the business. And so I created this program, what started out to be like a $20,000 program, man. It's been like $250,000 now, and you know, a year and a half of shit later. And I knew it was going to be like that, but you know. So, anyways, the reporting process, like everything is taken care of. The reporting process at the end of the night. I mean, we've got email marketing, we've got text marketing, we've got websites. So I was talking about like, how do you manage websites? Well, with a click of a button, we can build, you know, multiple different websites on WordPress. Because here's the thing, if you're looking at high ticket items in the medical niche or, you know, plastic surgery or whatever it is, like these guys will not axe their main website, right? They will not axe that. They'll axe funnels, they'll axe Facebook ads, they'll axe any of that stuff, but they will keep their WordPress-based website, and they will keep the person that manages all their communication, because that's the hardest thing to let go. Yep. And I knew that. And so I said, well, I got to build a system that I don't want to have to outsource all of this website stuff. I need to make it very, very simple. And so you just click of a button, boom, the website's done. It's all integrated with action funnels and email campaigns and text marketing. And
guys, so I want to paint, like, continue painting this picture. So what we're talking about here is like the CRM of your dreams for your clients. How many of us, you know, we do this, we're zapping leads to Google Sheets where they're keeping track of things, and that's 10 times better than what the client's doing, right? But this is like a beautiful dashboard that pulls in your leads, shows them what their lead flow looks like, is able to move them across from, you know, lead to consultation to, you know, close to exam or whatever it might be, almost like Pipedrive. For anyone seen Pipedrive, it's got a very similar interface to that for the lead flow. But on top of that, you can also do websites from it. You can freaking send text messages from it, right? Like, I mean, you can do text reminders. You can, yeah, it's absolutely.
I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah, we can see a bit of it. It's kind of hard to read though.
Okay, yeah. So I'll pop the image on here, but basically what it talks about is the prospects to close process, right? And so when most of the guys, if you're starting out and you're doing, you know, Facebook ads or something like that, you're basically focusing on getting the prospects, and you're saying, hey, listen, I've got you a prospect. It's not my job. I don't care if you close. I'm doing my job, and that's why the retention is a big problem. Mm-hmm. But what I say is like, hey, listen, be vested in your client's success. You got to know if they get a prospect, how long it takes them to either call back, because we know that's important, and how that receptionist is calling people back, or what they're doing on that side of things. Because that receptionist at the front desk, who's ever, you know, calling back your leads or picking up the phones and answering them, is you're relying on that person to make sure that that doctor's going to keep paying you, or that client's going to keep paying you. And so you have to provide the business owner with valuable data. And now you become something else other than somebody that's just running a Facebook ad or a funnel. You become more of a consultant to their business, or a chief marketing officer is what I call it, right? So you're providing major data, good data, and that stuff is really, really important to a business owner. I know for me, for myself, if I'm going to spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month on something, I'm looking for more. I'm looking for, you know, you and I know, like, we're looking for other things that can help us take us to the next level. Like, where is the breakdown?
Yeah.
I want to know where that leak is so I can plug it. I already know how to generate leads. I already know how to get on the phones and close, but where is that breakdown? Who's the weak spot here? Where's the weak link? Yeah. And when you get to businesses that are making millions of dollars, you don't need to change everything about their business. You need to come in and you need to be able to find that one thing that is going to take it to the next level.
Definitely, man. And speaking of people, who do millions of dollars, really quick, this is almost a side note. I want to touch on that. A lot of times people are afraid to go out and talk to those businesses, but how much better is it working with somebody who has their shit together on the back end, man? And then if you bring them something like this Ever Genius, it's like, wow, this is so sick. I've never seen anything like this. Because it's so much better working with businesses that do millions, guys, because they know how to fucking close, and if they need extra tools to help them close more, they're going to love you for it. And they're going to understand and have proper expectations. And they're much less likely to expect 100-to-1 return on their freaking investments, So just touch on that real quick, man. Just tell everyone it's not that big of a deal, guys. Don't get scared about that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot easier, actually.
Yeah.
Number one, they don't bug you every single day.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit there on the phones. Hey, what's going on with my leads or what's going on with my thing? Like, you send them a report after every month and they'll look at it. They're going to give you the time. They understand if you're telling somebody that you're going to get them X amount of people in X amount of days and they're going to do X amount of millions of dollars in the next 30 days, they're going to call bullshit.
Yeah.
Just like I do. And just like you do, right? So
all day.
No, it doesn't take that long because I've been in business long enough and this is how long it actually takes.
Yeah.
And so if you're giving me a year plan, you create that journey for me, I'll be like, okay, I get it, man. Yeah, I'll invest into that for sure. Let's go at it. And that's the difference between the people that are doing millions of dollars versus doing $100,000. They're just going to keep flying from Facebook ad person to another one. And you see it. I pick them up all the time, and you probably do too. I tried this guy. You probably heard somebody. Bob says, it's because we took the wrong client.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you've got people who've come from us. I know we've got a couple, one or two at least I've seen come from you, but it's just but we actually cut one today who was with us for 3 days, and I'm like, dude, I've seen that guy before. And then we'll talk offline about that. But it's about the people who hop around are the scariest ones. Yeah. When you hear somebody's been with 10 bad marketing companies, you really got to look at them and be like, yikes. Like, I get it. There's some bad marketing companies out there. I know that. But like, if there's 10, 15 and they never take responsibility, that's a major problem. And the big guys don't really do that. They might have something else that for them for wanting to switch. So that's something to, approach those guys, approach them. Don't be afraid, guys, because they're so much easier to work with. Yeah. I'm telling you, the smallest agency fees, those are the biggest headaches.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and they want everything.
Yeah, that's the other thing. And they call you 24/7, man. So what's back with Ever Genius, man? I want to talk a bit more about that. I see it's a very valuable, piece of your sales process, I would assume, right? How do you fit all that in? What does it take to get people in to train, that type of stuff to use it?
Yeah, one of the things that, some of the guys that that are in your programs that are in mine too, one of the big things that they tell me is that the whole program is brought certainty to their business, right? And we all know certainty sells. Tony Robbins talks about that. Be certain about where your position is and all that kind of stuff. And so what we did is we built these brands that we want to share with the community, not only just, for me to promote Ever Genius or to promote Honest Doctor, which we have as a brand, but we want to have the ability for everybody to use it and to everybody to promote it, because we feel that this, if you want to create it, I even told you, remember when we first met, I said, man, if you want to recreate this thing, look, I'll show you the exact same, like, you go ahead and do it, man, because I'll clap for you.
Yeah, let's just say I'm not trying to recreate it right now. I can assure you that.
But we wanted to, our goal was like, to create great agencies, guys that want to build an empire, the guys that want to create, change the mold of the typical sort of, the agency that we kind of see today, and really, stand out from the crowd. And so I built these brands to be able to be shared with a lot of the community that we have if they want to. They don't have to, but by taking Ever Genius and using it to manage their communications, to giving good data to their clients, to be able to justify why they're paying you, the amount of money that you're paying you, and for you to be able to act on that information and change their business is really what I set out to create. Along with the features and all that thing. I mean, it's slam packed. It integrates with most of the products out there and the services out there. But you know, I think the reason why I built it was to be able to, number one, is to retain people for longer. So we're retaining 90% more than what the average person is.
Yeah.
We want to use it for, you know, having a really set program for our agencies to use, and if they choose to, build it on the backbone of their agency. So
yeah, man. And I love it. And guys, you guys know my mission here is to equip you guys with shit that is going to work, things that are actually working. One of the big things, what Bob just, you know, one of the big reasons why I actually started this entire group was because I got really fed up with seeing a lot of the gurus out in this, you know, the ClickFunnels communities who didn't even have agencies behind them, hadn't even done this shit, you know, got to like 10 grand and started the course, whatever. Like, I want to share with you guys like what it really takes. And that's why I want to bring on people like Bob, and go through, and I would only bring on tools that I believed in and trust and I knew were good for the long term. Because you said something, Bob, that I think is important. And those who are inside the Private Crusader Nation know I've been talking a lot about this. The agency model is really changing, in my opinion. You have to be doing different things you had to do 2-3 years ago before no one was doing Facebook ads. And in order to do that, you really need to be able to structure yourself for the long term, position yourself for the long term with the things like the branding that you're talking about, bringing on the CRM, looking at like as a consultant. Use the term consultant. I like to say revenue partner, right? Like someone who talks straight up about that, not your funnel guy. I'm your guy I'm your partner over here, right? Like, this is what we do. We're going to help build. We know your numbers. We know everything inside and out. And that's what this, you know, this software is a big piece of the puzzle, guys. It's really a badass software that can solve a lot of your client issues in regard, and it just helps with retention because it points them, shows them point blank how bad they are at responding to leads. You know, like, because you know they're going to be bad at responding to leads. So you can be like, bro, it's been 3 days since he called this guy. I got proof. You know, but then at the same time, it also lets them know how bad the front desk is. Because a lot of times, you know, they don't want to be mad at their front desk, but subconsciously, I feel like they also kind of know that sometimes they suck. So, but when they see the data, it's impossible to argue with stats and data, right? And so this is such a huge arsenal. So yeah, man, what can we do to, you know, share some of this, show some of this, get more information about EverGenius?
I want to talk one thing about the retention side of things. Like the retention strategy, I think we focus so much, like you guys do a great job on, you know, doing the sales process, how to get clients, how to do all these things. The retention process should not, it starts when you actually sign a client, right? Like you should be putting in the same amount of effort that you are to get a client to retain that person. So when you get somebody, your kickoff call should be there. They should be getting a gift, right? After 3 months. So here's the average client that stays on for 3 months. That's like the average industry. Every time I talk to somebody, like, how long do you keep people? They're like, you know, 2 months, 90 days, that kind of thing. And so if you know that, then you got to do something special. So that's why I go out and visit my clinics after the 2-month mark, because they're going to be like, oh man, this guy came out, I can't cancel now. And then after a couple of months, you know, we send them out a gift, whether it be Omaha Steaks or something like that. Like we keep that constant communication with them and always in their face, right? And there's days or months where we don't get a result for somebody.
Yeah.
We're still keeping them because we're managing everything as a whole for them. And they understand the value that we bring. And they know together, I say together all the time, we're partners in this, man. Together, we got to build this thing because I'm on your side. We want to grow this business, you know? So, and that's
why that, dude. You fly out after 2 months. I love that shit. Psychology, get him, Karen. That's awesome. So we send gift boxes out. Having, like, a lot of you guys might not even have onboarding calls set up. You've got to have onboarding calls, kickoff calls, explain how the relationship's going to work, explain where you're going to be following up, explain when the porting is, explain who they can reach out to, you know, and really set the tone for the relationship. Talk to them about how important it is to follow up with the leads, have the lead process, follow-up process in place. Because at this point, it's not a secret. Everyone's fucking tanking the leads. Like if they're not taught how to handle the leads, they're going to tank the leads. Like, so you got to do it. And this software is a huge key in helping with that, and alongside actually training the staff to use it, you know?
Yeah. So I'm just going to show you. Is it okay if I take over?
Yeah, man. I'd love to. We got people asking for it.
Cool. So let's get on, man.
Yeah. Oh, looks like Anton's on here. It's lessclientsmoremoney.com/go. That's you, right?
No. So that's evergenius.com is the, if you guys want to do a demo, Anton will do a demo. So go to evergenius.com. So if you guys are looking at this dashboard right here, you'll notice that I got a sales funnel right on the left-hand corner. and it shows that we've got 22 total leads, a dollar value of $77,000. 0 appointments, consults. We got 12 closed at $42,000, right? And so when I go into my opportunity stage, I'm just going to bomb through this a bit. And if you guys want to get on a demo, and Anton will show you. But I can go in here and I can sit there and switch and move. Now, if I look at this, right, I look at this person's got 6 consults. He's closed 12 of them. There's probably something going on with where their other leads are or whatever it may be, and they're pushing them from either a prospect to a close. They might not be using it properly. However, when I look at this, I want to know, like, hey, listen, I've got 22 leads. There's $77,000. If I was to look at it, they got 0 appointments. So I know that there's a problem from taking them from a prospect to an appointment, okay? So I got to go back and I got to say, hey, listen, you've got 22 leads sitting there and you've had no appointments. What's the deal? What gives? So I might go back and I might look at this and I'll see when this person was signed up, okay? So I'll go back in here and let's see, this person was signed up on the 27th of August. And this person called, left message, and emailed, okay? So then I'll go back and I'll look at the conversation. We have a whole text message broadcast thing in here. So if I wanted to shoot off a text message, I can just go right in here, click send text message, and boom, send them off a message. So part of the follow-up process is all built inside here, and all you got to do is just train on them. And our staff and our support, one of the things that when I built this system, I did not just want to give you a system where you can sign up online and then just go at it your own. We want to walk you through every single step and stage to the point where it'll even help you close your doctors or your clients or your people that are working with you on this software, okay? So we go here and send a text message. This tells us that this person called, left message, and emailed. This was 3 days ago. So one follow-up piece, right? So they basically went in and sent out, they called, left message, and an email. So what I want them to do is I want them to send a text message. And they're not doing that. And they've got one follow-up call in place. So 3 days ago. And that's not good enough, right? We know that most of the business is done from the 8th to the 12th contact. So I'm going to say, well, why don't you guys call back a little bit more? You need to add a little bit more, sequences into your follow-ups. So we might go back and we might, well, Bob, I don't have that. Okay, well, let's go back and let's create that. And that as a team, as a consultant or a chief marketing officer, that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to get my team to go in and create action funnels for these pieces. Okay. And
guys, drop a freaking like or love if you're not impressed so far. Like when I saw this, I was like, my mind like shattered. I'm like, this is the dream right here. You can show them the opportunities, the excitement, get them pumped up. Like go back to that main screen. I love this. This is an overall thing, guys. You need to start talking to your clients like this. Was it yeah. So guys, what you got to do, there's a dollar figure attached to the leads here. From day one, you must start attaching a dollar figure to the doctor's mind for a lead. That's $5,000 in opportunities. I sent you 50 grand in opportunities this week. How much did you close? Right? You always have to do that so that they look at every single lead as a big deal. Yes, we understand not all of them are going to close, but you must treat every single one hardcore. Like, so that's huge. And that's such a big eye opener for it. I love it. Like, give me a one if some of you guys love it.
Yeah. So in here also, there's call recording. So I think somebody a couple of days ago or last week was talking about, well, how do one of the guys is closing big and the other guy's not. I can't remember the guy's name, but this is how you kind of, fix that situation. You start listening to their calls, you start listening to their follow-up sequences and how they're doing it, how fast they're following up. If you look up here, it tells us the average lead response time is 30 hours and 51 minutes, right? So we know exactly where they're screwing up. That's why they're not taking a prospect to an appointment. Right there, 30 hours, 51 minutes. We need to get that down to 5 minutes. Okay, well, we know that's not always doable. So what we do is we start to create what we call as genius funnels. And these are action funnels that are able to get out there and so we can send them a text message as soon as a lead comes in, an email. We can get them to respond back to us, a whole bunch of things that, we have inputted after we found out what people were doing inside their clinics. So we've got conversations. Basically, I think you guys know this side. So, hey, Freddie, this is Vicky from Optimal Health, blah, blah, blah. They're booking appointments. I see that you have seen Dr. Lee for, so all of these things are conversations that we're starting with people. This is a two-way text messaging program. So you can have conversations and log them all here rather than having the receptionist do it on their phone, right? Because we want to know exactly what they're saying on these conversations. Recent activity. I mean, there's, calendars. We got call records, like I said, and listen to the calls recorded right here. If they don't
welcome to Optimal Help.
If they don't come in, you can actually just click on this little button, download it, and shoot it off to the doc and say, hey, man, listen to this call because your front desk sucks and my income depends on it, right? You can pop in a yes, mark it as a lead, and you can also put in your notes there what that whole thing's about.
Got freaking everything, man. I love it. This thing is, every time I see it, it just blows me away. I love this thing. Like, it's so sick. Like,
yeah, it's got social media, basically Hootsuite in a box. Like you got Hootsuite in here. It pulls out all the stats, so you can create a new post. You can schedule.
And the website stuff, right?
Yeah. So this is their website.
Boom. Look at this, guys.
This is a website that's built in.
This website was built from Evergenius, right? I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. Correct. Yes. Look at this, guys.
Yeah.
Like, wow, man.
Yeah. So this is all built in with inside Evergenius. All of these forms are already tracked. So once they fill out a form and they click a service or whatever, it tags them and it'll send out an automatic sequence to them based on that service if you want to set it up that way.
Damn.
It's got Honest Doctor. I don't know if I talked to you a little bit about Honest Doctor, but it's a reputation and rating review system that I created. But basically for the people that are in the medical space, you guys can use this. And it every time somebody books an appointment, 2 hours later, it sends them a text message and an email, sends a patient a text message and an email asking them to complete a review. Once they've completed the review, it goes into the back end of Evergenius, right? It goes into the back end of Evergenius right here. And if you click on approve, it also aggregates from everywhere, Health Grades, Rate MDs, basically every place that is submitting reviews, so you can monitor and manage your reputation. So check this out, guys. There's guys out there selling $500 a month, $1,000 a month, just a reputation management program. Now you're adding all this in. Imagine the value that you're getting and giving to these people without charging them extra, right?
Yeah, and the websites and the oh my gosh, man, that's crazy. I love it. That's so awesome. Guys, ask questions. Let me know what we got on this. I know we just went over a ton here. I mean, this is literally an entire business you can just run through Evergenius. Like, my gosh. I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised if you had Facebook ads in here too, just like an Adspresso template.
We're working on that, man.
Are you? That's what's up, man. If you can figure out how to tie in some of that stuff, oh boy.
One of the things that we're working on is an online calendar, so a Calendly link, because we've got a full-on calendar system in here. And so in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the ability to integrate and embed a link. So a lot of you guys will create a funnel and then at the end of it have a Calendly link where they book a time with their doctors and stuff like that. And then you got to integrate it with Active Campaign and all of those kinds of things. Basically, we're going to give you an embed link. You can pop it onto your funnel. And what happens is basically it'll start off a action funnel immediately. So you don't have to do any of the integrations.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, what kind of questions do we got here? What's the, we can find what's the demo link? You said evergenius.com/go. What was it?
No, just Evergenius.
Evergenius.com.
Yeah, just click on book a demo and it'll walk you through that process.
Perfect. I'm going to put it in here for everyone.
So check this out. Like, this is our conversations tab right here. And this is one of the girls. This is Bianca with Regenavita in Chicago. I see here that you did your survey online last week regarding your knee pain symptoms. If you have a moment, we could chat about some of the options we have here, or I can answer some. I have slight pain in my popping in my right knee from time to time. Like, boom, you're starting that conversation with these people. And how hard is it to pick up the phone and get these people to call back, right? It's really tough, especially from a Facebook ad. And so we want to start to automate this process for your clients. It doesn't matter what industry that you're in. It works for any industry. I'm just showing you from the medical space because that's what I'm in. But really, any industry that you're in, it will work for, because sales are the same. You got prospects, you got to follow up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that was one of the questions we had, primarily med space, but you can do this in any industry, right? Like,
yeah, you can do this in any industry. So our templates are modifiable. You can use it for, for whatever area that you want to.
That's freaking awesome. Nicholas, what's up, man? How you doing? He's got a question for you, Bob. What do you charge your clients for so much value?
Our minimum that we charge is $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
So we're on our that's our minimum. Our average is anywhere, I think, about 7,500 really.
And Nicholas, that's for everything, right? So basically he just includes this into his package, right? Like, this is built into your pricing, right? Like, 'cause I want to make sure he knows that, Nicholas, this is for his agency client stuff.
Yeah, this is for my agency clients.
Yeah.
So that's the packages that I create. But look at, like, if you were to go and ask whoever you're pitching this to, like, how much does it cost you to build a website? If you're going to build a website, it's 10 grand, 5 to 10 grand to build a site like that, right? And then you got to have email. So they're going to get MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that, right? And then text message, and then reminders, and then, all these social media and, reputation review. Like, when you're pitching, you're like, man, you've got all this value that you're providing them. And it's really hard for them, if you consistently stay after them, it's really hard for them to let you go, even if you get bad results in a month or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. So are you using EverGenius for your own pipeline for new sales for the agency?
Yeah. All of our guys are on it. We use it for all of our stuff. All of our sales.
Anything with sales, right? You said it earlier. You nailed it. Anyone that's got a sales and a follow-up process and needs emails to go out, like, that works everywhere. That's all business. That's every single business in the world, right? Like, that's awesome. Let's see here.
I mean, it's got the pipeline, so you can set it up. Just get on a demo with our guys and we'll walk you through and show you exactly how we set it up and how we can set it up for your business.
Yeah, definitely. So we got one. We've got Othman, which resources, courses did you use to learn Facebook SEO, Google Ads when you got started? How'd you learn how to get into marketing? What'd you do there?
Oh man. I learned a long time ago. Like, I remember when I was building my agency, my real estate company, I had hired a guy, and I was broke, man, by this time. I didn't know a whole lot about websites and stuff like that. And I hired a guy and he charged me 25 grand. I literally took it off my credit line and gave it to the guy. And I said, you know what, I'm going to build this beautiful website, and, this whole internet thing, I'm going to make a killing. And so we built this beautiful website, but we put it online and it was like, okay, where's the money coming in, right? No money whatsoever. So I had to figure out again, how am I going to do SEO? How am I going to do Google AdWords? How am I going to do all this stuff? I started looking into it more and more. And more I started looking into it, the more and more I started to love it.
Yeah.
And, I just learned it. I can't tell you one specific course that I learned. And a lot of the times I just do. I'm a big, firm believer that I just put my money out. And I do, and I learn that way, because those who pay, pay attention, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all out and do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I get this question a lot too, right? And I think you're hitting on a good point. Like, I'm all about paying somebody to give me some right information. But like, one thing you don't want to do is perennially course hop, right? Like, you don't need 500 courses. A lot of times there's some good info in there. Yes, there's way better ones than others, and yes, there's some shit out there. But like, it's one of those things where doing is the only way you're ever going to learn. The next magical course isn't going to save your ass, right? Like, if you've got the basics, you've got it down. The only way to do it, go out, start talking. How do you get better at sales? Go have some sales conversations. Go knock on some doors. How do you get better at Facebook ads? If you've never ran them, well, you have to go run them for clients, or because you're not going to learn what you need to learn in a course or anywhere else, So the biggest thing is, going out, getting sales, doing the work, like you said. I think that's a great point.
I think you hit on a really good point, is like, too many people. I think if you ever see me at some of the events, I used to do this all the time. I used to go to the events, take every single course that there was known to man, grab all the books, grab everything, because I was like a sponge, right? And today, if you ever see me at a conference, I'll go into the conference and I might stay there for the first hour, or I might stay there for 2 days. But as soon as I get something that I need that is going to take one aspect of my business to the next level, I leave, because I don't want to pollute this thing, right? I don't want to be like all over the place. I want to take off, get that, and implement it. And then I'll figure that stuff out afterwards, whatever I need to get. And I think sometimes people always focus on too many things, and they can't hyper focus and build their
100%, man. And people, and I hate saying this because you got to learn, right? You want to learn, you want to get better, you want to study, but like there's the people start falling into the trap where during business hours you're watching courses or training. And it's like, no, man, you need to be hitting the street and making sales. Like save your don't fake yourself with productivity and being busy if you're broke, right? Like if you don't have any money, go out and talk to people. Watch your courses and your trainings at night or on weekends. You know, I'm the same way because I used to be like that too, like everywhere all the time. Now I've really focused my time. I only listen to like 2 or 3 people. I cut off my Facebook feed. I know what I need to do. And I'm only going to, you know, now at this point, you know, I really pay expensive stuff for expensive access to people one-on-one so I can have a quick conversation. You know, all the masterminds in are 5 figures plus, you know, big investments. But yeah, it's all about doing the work, man, and really not polluting the brain. It's something I'm obsessed with right now is focus, because nobody can focus anymore between social media and Instagram and emails and text messages. Like focusing, I dare all of you to focus for 1 fucking hour, like 1 hour straight, no distractions. Don't pick up your phone. Like you won't. It's gonna be hard for most of you, myself included.
Like, you know, when I was growing up, I'm a big Dan Kennedy guy. I knew all these guys that were, you know, going into Ryan Dice, all these guys when they're in these programs, I was in the same programs as them. Yeah. And one of the things that was true amongst everybody is that they were able to put everything away and aside, and they can just get shit done. If they need to write a sales letter, they'd lock themselves in a room for 2 weeks and they'd write that sales letter. And I think, you know, and they knew exactly the path that they wanted to go. And I learned a lot of those traits back very early on. And I think with a lot of the social media and all that kind of stuff that's out there today, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but I think we're missing something, and we're missing the ability to just shut everything off and just get down to freaking work and write your shit and get it up and test it and track it and tweak it and then talk to people afterwards it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't confuse busyness for productivity that's going to lead to cash. That's the biggest thing. Only you is going to know if you're actually doing stuff to take to cash, but don't confuse it. Man, it's been about an hour here, Bob. This has been awesome, dude. I really appreciate you coming on. Guys, we're going to have him back, I'm sure. I'm going to be talking about Evergenius again in here. Again, go to evergenius.com, book a demo with Bob, go check out the software. And Bob, man, thank you so much for your time today, dude. It's been a total blast.
Appreciate it. We'll see you soon, right?
Yeah, you got it, man. Yep, absolutely. All right, take care. Yeah.